Welcome to another episode of Chatting with Staxx. I am your host, Bill Staxx, and today my guest is Anthony Luciano Raimondi, former enforcer for the Colombo crime family.
Born
Enjoy.
October 12th, 1953, to my mother, Mary, and my father, Frank Raimondi. Now, my grandfather, Antonio Raimondi, came here from Italy many, many years ago, and he was a member of the Black Hand. And then my grandfather, Frank Casa, who was my mother's father, he came here from Italy also, and he was a member of the Black Hand. Now, both my brothers were only about maybe 5'5", 5'6". That's all they were. They weren't no taller than that. Their wives were all taller than them. My grandfather, Antonio, he was cousins to Salvatore Lucena. Salvatore Lucena is Lucky Luciano because the real name is Lucena, not Luciano. So a lot of people get that confused. Now, that was his cousin. Now, Uncle Lucky's father, Antonio, had a woman on the side. And the woman on the side had 4 daughters. She had Nancy, she had Mary, she had Lucy, and she had Auntie Cumberlina. That was my grandmother and her 3 sisters. Now she was half sister to Lucky. When my grandfather seen her, he went berserk. He loved her. He told Uncle Lucky, he says, I'm gonna take her as my wife. He literally kidnapped her off the streets, my grandfather. In Sicily. Literally. Kidnapped her off the streets, married her. There was no problem.
Yeah.
And everything, basically everything was good. So now Uncle Lucky was not only his cousin, but now it's his brother-in-law. All right. Now my grandfather Antonio had a cousin named Ralph Guido. Uncle Ralph, he was my great uncle. Uncle Ralph, they named his nickname was El Terrible, the terrible one. He was in the Black Hand, and this man was unbelievable. I mean, even the bosses, they fucking shit their pants when they seen this guy. He wound up marrying Aunt Lucy. That's my grandmother's sister. So now, not only now is Uncle Ralph my grandfather's cousin, it's his brother-in-law. In turn, he had a sister named Rose, and Rose had 4 children. She had Adeline, Ruthie, Jeanette, and Mac. They were half Irish and half Italian. She married a gentleman named was Uncle Huey, we used to call him. Now, he was my grandfather's cousin, and she was my grandfather's cousin. My father comes along naturally. Uncle Ralph is his father, is his uncle. Uncle Lucky's his uncle. Then I come along. Lucky is my great uncle. Uncle Ralph is my great uncle. My cousin Mac, who a lot of people give me a problem about, they say, "Oh, he's not your cousin. He's my cousin. It's through blood." His mother and Uncle Ralph were brother and sister, and they were cousins to my grandfather. A lot of these fucking morons, they don't get it through their head. This is blood. Even though Mac was, I think, like a second or third cousin to me, he's still my cousin. And he was my father's cousin. And he, in turn, they put me under his wing when I was like 13 years old with my cousin Mac. Now you also have, there is Carmine Galenti, who was my grandfather Antonio. That was his kid cousin, his younger cousin. My grandfather was like 23, 24 years older than him, somewhere around there. He was much older than, that's him. He was older than him. And he was in Sicily. Now, you also had Frank Costello, who was my grandfather, Frank Casa. That was his cousin, as Uncle Frank. Now, our real name was Costello, but my grandfather, they had changed it to Casa. They had a cousin with the last name of Casa. The reason why, because every time they went looking for Frank Costello, they would come for my grandfather. He was like 5'5". Uncle Frank was like over 6'2".
Yeah.
So it was beginning to become a problem with them. So what they done, he just adopted the name Casa, which his son, which was my Uncle Frank, who passed away, used to tell the story to everybody in the family also. I already knew. Now you had Anil, who Anil was cousins to my grandfather also, Casa, Frank Casa. That was his cousin. Because if you looked at my grandfather, and if you looked at my grandfather, Frank Casa, right, which you got pictures in my book, and you look at my grandfather, Frank Casa, you look at Anil, and you look at, and you look at Frank Costello, excuse me, you can see all the resemblance between them. I have pictures in my book of my grandfathers. So they were all related. And then there was another guy, Peppino Speranza, who was a relation, but they killed him with a machine gun. I think, oh, Jesus, I don't even think I was born yet, on Columbia Street, where my grandfather had a barber shop. Because my grandfather Antonio, they used to call him Tony the Barber because he knew how to cut hair. But his barber shop was his front because he owned the building that Trophy's Bakery was in, and they had the apartment upstairs. But my grandfather was shaking down everybody in the neighborhood. Everybody paid him. Balsamo's Fruit Market, the Fish Market, the Happy Hour movie theater. I mean, even the bakery that was underneath their building, everybody kicked into them.
Yeah.
So these were all my relatives. And my grandfather, Frank Casa, whose real name is Costello, he had an apartment building. It was an 8-family building at 575 Baltic Street. It was 8-family walk-up. It was like every floor there was 2 families, but there was only family that lived in there. There was my Aunt Palmer, who was my grandfather's daughter, my Uncle Jack, who was his son, my mother, Mary. There was my Uncle Tom. There was my Uncle Frank. There was my Aunt Nanny. There was my Aunt Judy. And I'm trying to think. Oh, and there was a cousin of theirs. I think her name was Effie Perez. She was a Spanish girl, but somehow she was related. It was only family in the building. But every week, like clockwork, every weekend, they all used to come over to the house on Baltic Street. And my mother used to cook for everybody. They would either be in my mother's and father's apartment, or they would be my grandfather's, which my grandfather was right next door to me because we were up on the second floor. So when you went in the building, you had 2 apartments downstairs. You went up the stairs, there was 2 apartments. Next flight of stairs, 2 apartments. Next flight, 2 apartments. My mother used to cook. My mother loved to cook. She get up and start cooking at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Anyway, they always used to come in the house. I used to see them. And then when we were in the summertime, when we were outside, they used to pull up with their cars. Now, on Baltic Street, it was a one-way up the block. They would double park and triple park. Cops never bothered them. I remember I used to see them come out with the big diamond rings, the suits. I mean, you could see the cash in their pockets bulging out of their pockets. I mean,
Yeah.
unbelievable. One day, Uncle Frankie gets me and he squeezes my cheek, and I cried. With that, O'Neill turns around. He goes, "Come here." He goes, "Stop crying." I said, "What?" He goes, "Next time he does it, tell him to go fuck himself." I said, "What?" He goes, "Just like that. Tell him to go fuck himself." Now, my both grandfathers there, and they're laughing. So I go back. A couple of minutes later, he squeezes my cheek. He squeezes my cheek. I tell him, I said, "Go fuck yourself." He says, "What did you say?" I said, "Go fuck yourself." He takes out and hands me $20. I swear, he hands me $20. So now, what happens? All right, now wait, you got left. So now, O'Neill squeezes my cheek. I go fuck yourself. And I put my hand out. I'm waiting for the $20. And he goes, "What do you want?" I said, "Where's my fucking $20?" I said, like that, then. Believe it or not, he gave me $20. Every time one of them, I pressed one of them, here's $20. Go buy some. I was making money when I was about what? 8 years old? I was making money from these guys. Enemy money. I said, "What the fuck? You gotta be kidding me." Now, we used to get fireworks on 4th of July. Cops never bothered us. My father would come in with a trailer. Him, my Uncle Frank, my Uncle Tony, they used to come in with a 40-foot trailer. So about 40 loaded with fireworks. They would sell them. And then we would be shooting off fireworks. We would start shooting off fireworks from July 2nd. We didn't get done until maybe July 6th. That's how much we had. My mother and father says they had me in St. Augustine's school. St. Augustine's was a school in Brooklyn on Sterling Place between 5th and 6th Avenue. And if you look up the plane crash from 1960, that's where it happened, was over there. And I was one of the kids who they took in the ambulance. I have it in my book. I'll explain the plane crash in a while.
Okay.
So I used to go to St. Augustine's, which they thought Catholic school was going to make me a fucking saint. They were wrong. But they were wrong. So I used to follow them, and then I used to follow my Uncle Joe, my father's brother, my Uncle Nino. His real name is Uncle Tony, but I call him Nino. I'm the only nephew that called him Tony. And then there was my Uncle Sal, my godfather, right, who was my father's younger brother. I sort of took after all them. Now, my father was very quiet. So one day, I'm in St. Augustine School. I'm in the 7th grade. And I was getting into a little bit of trouble here and there. This kid was sitting behind me, Raymond Cicerillo, and he was sticking me with something. I turned around and go, "Stop it." And as soon as I turned around, the nun, Sister Anne Michelle, Raimondi, back in the school, back in the classroom, carrying the books. All fucking day, I'm holding 40 pounds of books for the morning and afternoon. So I come home one day, and I take my shirt off because we had to wear a white shirt. My mother says, "What's on your shirt?" So I don't know what. In the back of the shirt, there were stains. And she looks at my t-shirt. She goes, "This is blood." So I don't know. I didn't say nothing to her. He's doing it again the next day. And the next day I come home and my mother sees it again. She calls my father. My father goes to me, "Come here." He goes, "I want to talk to you." He goes, "What the fuck's going on?" I says, "Pop, listen. This fucking kid, Raymond Cicerillo, there was a whole bunch. There was Raymond Cicerillo, Anthony Cicerillo, Steven, and Rocco. But Anthony and Raymond were in my classes. This fucking guy keeps sticking me in the back with a fucking pin. Every time I turn around, I tell him to stop. I want to hit him. Sister Anne Michelle grabs me in the back of the classroom, 40 pounds of books all fucking day. He goes, "All right, I'm going to give you something." My father gave me a penknife. It was about this big. You opened it up, it was like this. Yeah. What do I do that? He goes, "This guy sticks you with a pen." He goes, "You take this." I go, "You stab him in the fucking eye." I said, he goes, "Don't worry about getting in trouble. You won't get it." I go, "You stab him in the fucking eye." He goes, "Do what I'm telling you." Okay. Next day, I'm in the class. Guy sticking me. I said, "Stop, Raymond, stop." I open up the thing. He's putting his arm across. I stab him in the arm from, you know where you bend your arm? Yeah. All the way down to his whole fucking arm. Fucking blood all over the place. Sister Anne Michelle took about 4 heart attacks. The blood, I mean, this guy had like almost 90 stitches in his arm. I fucked him up. P.S. Who comes and grabs me? The cops. All right. Cop goes, "It's Frankie's son," they call my father. My father goes to the precinct. Him and my Uncle Sal. This kid Raymond's in the fucking hospital, man, because they're stitching him up. Yeah. And whatever they said, I come home that day. So now my father says, "We're going to get you back in school." Well, I'll tell you 2 things. Funny. I went back to classroom, but I'll tell you one thing. I never stood in the back of the classroom no more carrying books, no matter what I did in the class. Sister Anne Michelle didn't even want to talk to me. Now, Rainbow's family is saying that they're going to press charges and everything. And the cops told my family. So my father tried to talk to them nicely. They didn't want to listen. All right. See, they had sons. Raymond and Anthony thought who the hell they were. You understand? They thought they were bad neighbor. They thought they were the toughest guys until I stabbed them in the fucking arm. Yeah. That was in the 7th grade. So what happened? My father says, all right. My father gets together. My cousin Mac. Maya was there at the time. And Maya I think, it was Uncle O'Neill. Yeah, and Uncle O'Neill. And they went to the Raymond sister's house. And they kicked in the door. And the family was sitting there having dinner. They walked in. They put a gun into the father. They said, put a gun right down the father's arm. Told the father and the mother, they pulled out all guns. They says, "You press charges on him. You ain't going to be able to kill your whole fucking family. There ain't no place you could hide. Your son is a piece of shit. He got what he deserved." And they went on and on and on. Next thing I know, what happened? Charges were dropped. Charges were dropped. The Cicerillos kept a wide berth, and then a couple of years after that, they kept seeing me around the neighborhood. They moved out of the neighborhood. They went away.
So now your dad wasn't a made man, right?
No. My father worked as a longshoreman down on Pier 7. That's down on Furman Street in Brooklyn, and they called him Top. So I'll tell you another story that's in book 1. When I had to go to a meeting in the piers, I was 20 years old. Never knew what my father done. I knew my father used to get up at 3:30 in the morning. He used to go down to the piers by 4:30. He'd leave. He'd come back 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And every now and then I used to see my father get dressed up. He'd go down the cellar. I hear him making noise. He'd come up and I'll see you later. My cousin will pick him up. And then he'd come back late at night and he'd go back down to the cellar. Never thought nothing of it. There was a delegate named Joe Fish. And I went down. It was me and my cousin Mac. We went down to the piers and there was Carmine, what's it called? There was Carmine Lombardoza was there. Anthony Scotto was there. Tom DeBella was there. Neil was there. There was a meeting that I had to go to down there because from all different families who had to talk about with the peers. So I'm there, and Joe Fish, I knew, I see him yelling and cursing at a guy. I'm saying, "Mickey, this guy Joe, who the fuck's he yelling at?" I look up on the ship. He's cursing at my father. Now I went over to my fucking go to grab him around the neck. They grabbed me. They says, "Leave it alone." I said, that's my father. It says, leave it the fuck alone.
And now, how old were
Okay.
you at this point?
24.
Okay.
I was 24 years old. Now I'm busting. I'm busting because they tell me to leave it alone. I'm looking to get this guy and chew his fucking head off with my teeth.
Yeah.
So we're going into the meeting. I say, listen, I said, I got to go back to the car. I forgot my cigars. This is all right, go ahead. They all go in. I'm walking past. I say, Joe, can I talk to you a minute? He says, you what? He says, you know, you yelling. That's my father you yelling. Who the fuck you yelling at my father? Before he could say another word, I started giving him a beat. I punched the shit out of this guy. Next thing I know, I got about 10 guys on top of me, grabbing me. Yeah. Carmine Galenti, Neil is on there, Carmine Lombardoza, they all grabbed me. What are you fucking? I said, I'll kill this motherfucker talking to my father that way. They turn around. I mean, I put this guy in the hospital. Seriously, put him in the fucking
hospital. And this guy was a made man?
No, he was a union delegate.
Oh, so he wasn't, but he was involved with them, but he wasn't made.
He was with the Gambino people.
Yeah, he was just an associate.
Right? So now, no, but he was a union delegate and on the delegate for the PS.
Yeah,
he was in the union, the longshoremen's union. He was a big delegate. This guy, he was like the second highest delegate. And we put this guy in the freaking hospital.
Yeah, so he's a big shot. Now,
yeah. So now they tell me, don't you know? I said, he's cursing at my father. I'll fucking get him out, cut his heart out. They tell me, don't you know? I said, don't I know what? Don't you? I said, no, I don't know. What are you talking about? Everybody kept looking at me and they saying, you don't know. I said, what don't I fucking know? They turned around, they told me, they says, this is an act between Joe Fish and your father. I said, what fucking act? So Carmine Lombardoza says, listen, he says, I already spoke to your father. He's going to talk to you tonight. He says, but you got to make this right with this guy, Joe Fish. He goes, you put him in the hospital. You almost killed him. I said, well, how am I supposed to fucking know it's an act? I said, I don't know. I wasn't told. P.S. I go home, and my father goes, come on, let's go in the yard and talk. So I go in the yard, and then my father tells me that there's an act between him and Joe Fish because the FBI was always looking at my father because my father was a shooter. I look at him, I says, what? He goes, that's what I do. He goes, how do you think we live so good? He used to tell me. He goes, I can do anything I want on the Shylock and bookmaking, anything I want. He goes, I work right directly for the commission. They have a special piece of work. They call me. I go and do it. When one of the 5 families in New York, if they got something they want done, they want a specialist, they go to the commission. Everybody meets. They call my father. Frankie, you got no problem. I said, how the fuck did I know this? I said, you're over there telling me you don't want me in this life. I said, you're killing guys since I'm a baby. He says, this is what I do. I said, okay, now I got to make it right with this guy, Joe Fish. A friend of mine had a Cadillac deal at Benson Cadillac, it was called, up in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. I walk in to see Jimmy. He goes, hey, Anthony, he goes, I heard about what happened with you and Joe Fish. He goes, you got to make it right. He goes, don't worry, I'll get you. You want a car? I said, yeah. He goes, I'm going to give it to you for cost. Give me a brand new Coupe de Ville for cost. Okay, here's the money. Fine. Take the car out. This guy, Joe, now he's in the hospital. Now I go to the hospital to see him. This guy's in bed. He's got bandages on his face, his arms. He sees me. This guy starts pressing the button for the nurse. He thought I was there to kill him.
Yeah.
I said, Joe, listen, let me tell you something. And he's shaking. I said, oh, this guy's going to drop dead in the fucking thing. I said, listen, I apologize. I didn't know that you and my father were friends and this was an act. I just found out. I said, but I got to make it right with you. P.S. There's like 19 nurses in there coming in and, and he's looking at them. I says, but I'll see you again. And I leave. About 3 weeks go by. I get the call. Joe's out of the hospital and he's down by the piers. So I say, you know what? I'm going to bring him the car and give him. He says, shit, this is a good idea. So I get my cousin. My cousin Mac drives my car and I drive the Cadillac. So I pull up on the pier with the car. My cousin Mac gets out. I walk into the office and he's talking with Anthony. Joe sees me and he fucking starts shaming. He turned like milk white. I mean, this guy thought this was the end. I said, Joe, I got to speak to you. I said, come with me. He wouldn't budge. So Anthony tells me, just go with him. And he's like shaking. I said, come with me. I said, what? I drag you the fuck out of here. I said, come with me. I said, don't worry. I got something I want to show you. This guy thought I was going to clip him. I mean, there's no 2 ways. Finally, we get him out the door. I'm walking. I got my arm around his shoulder. I said, listen. And I turned him around. I said, Joe, I want you to close your eyes. This guy looked at me. I thought he was going to start. He closed his fucking mouth. He figured I was going to one right in the head. He thought he was going to get it.
Yeah.
He closed his eyes. I said, "Stop walking with me and walking." I says, "Open your eyes." The guy wouldn't open up his eyes. I said, "Joe, open your eyes." "Joe, would you open your fucking eyes already?" So he opens up his eyes. You see that Cadillac over there? And he looks at me. I said, "That's my present to you. I'm apologizing for what I did. I got to make it right." I said, "Here's the keys. The insurance is paid up on it for the next 3 years. And the car's all paid in full. That's yours. Driving in good health. I want to apologize, Joe. I didn't. I had to make good for it. There was no two ways in about it. I had to make good for it." This guy looked at me. He was paranoid of getting in the car. He got it. I opened up the car door. I opened up. See, he opened up. No bomb going. I get in the car. I said, "Start it up." He was hesitant. I said, "Joe, start the fucking car." Well, I'm standing next to him.
Yeah.
I swear to God, he closed his eyes tight and he started it up. When he heard the engine go, just go, like, I'm standing next to the car. You think I'm going to put a bomb in here and kill me too? What the fuck's the matter with you? And that's stuff with Joe Fish. And, he seen me and we were friendly after that.
Yeah.
But he was some piece of fuck. He was. I had to make it right with this guy. I had to.
Yeah.
I mean, there was. Yeah. I mean, there was no way I could not make it right. Meanwhile, Uncle Maya, throughout the years, he's learned all this. And I remember I was 16. I was 16 years old, and Maya says, "You got to come with me." I says, "Where?" There was a guy. They called him Red Robbie, and then they called him Round Robbie. Jewish gangster. Had a tremendous business going, bookmaking, Shylock, and gambling. And Maya says, "You're in my area. You got to come up with a piece of the action." And the guy used to tell him no. So Maya picks me up one day. He goes, "You know what you're going to do?" I said, "What?" He hands me this thing. He says, "Go under the car, connect it to the gas tank." He says, "There's straps. Pull out the antenna." I said, "What the fuck is it?" He goes, "The bomb." I go, "That's a fucking bomb." He says, "Yeah, it's a bomb. I'll blow up his fucking car." Okay, here we go. I go on, I'm crawling, I put it underneath the fucking gas tank. I pull the antenna out. I come out, and he hands me the ice pick. He goes, "You'll know what to do when this guy comes out." It's okay. Guy comes out, and they're talking, and I'm standing there. And he goes to Maya. He goes, "Oh, who's this? Your nephew? What's he gonna do? Kill me?" With that, I went up and I put the ice pick. I stuck it under the neck. Maya pressed the button. Boom! The fucking car blows up right in the middle of the fucking street.
You stuck it right under his neck?
Right under his neck like this. I punctured him a little bit. That little bit of blood came out. I said, "I'll drive this right through your fucking brain. You open up your mouth again." This guy started crying. Maya told him, he says, "Here's what we're going to do." He goes, "I was trying to be nice with you. Basically, you told me to go fuck myself and you show no respect. You open up in my area without asking me." He goes, "I want 50% of everything you make." Because if I don't get it, there's no place in the world you're going to hide. He says, "I'll get you and I'll kill you."
Yeah.
P.S. He gave my that from that week on, Maya got 50% of everything this guy made. Maya used to throw me in, and I was making more money than than guys that were working in legitimate jobs and stuff. I was making more money. Maya was giving me 20% of what this guy gave him. That's how good I was with Maya. But I had a fucking ball with him. We used to go down to he used to take me to the Copacabana. 16, "Hey, let him get in. Fuck you, he's getting in." "Okay, Maya, whatever you say." Go on my Uncle Frank. So what happened? In the interim, as all this is going on, my cousin Mac brings me down to the Diplomat Lounge on Carroll and 3rd. I was 13 at the time.
Mhm.
And Tom DeBella goes, "Who's this kid?" I said, "That's Frankie's son." He goes, "No problem. It's Frankie's son. Let him do what he wants." They says, because they were breaking me in. Because I was getting into a lot of trouble. And what happened? I was getting into a lot of trouble. And there was a meeting at my Uncle Frank. My Uncle Frank was a big bootlegger with cigarettes and Shylock. He had a house on Dean Street. There was my Uncle Sal, my Uncle Frank, Guido. It was Uncle Frank Guido. It was Uncle Ralph's son, my father, and my cousin Mac. And they turned around and says, "Listen, keep him with us. At least we know we'll guide him. We'll put him the right way. Because if he goes with another family, they could wind up whacking him, this, that, or whatever." So they put me with my cousin Mac. All right. So he brings me down to 3rd Avenue. Now I meet Joe Colombo down there. And he goes, "Who's this kid?" They said, "It's Frankie Ray's son." "No problem. Kid can get whatever he wants. Let him do whatever he wants." So they would make me sweep up. clean the bathroom. I said, let's clean the bathroom. You know what? If I want to be what I want to be, that's what I got to do.
Yeah.
After about a month, he turns around to hand me an envelope. He tells me, go up to Scappy's Club on Fifth Avenue, give him the envelope, bring back the other envelope, and bring back the money. I walk up to Fifth Avenue. I come back down. I did it like 3 times a day. No more cleaning the Diplomat now. He said, this is what you, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then they tell me, go over to Fifth Street and go to Scappy's Club, go to Fifth Street and Fifth Avenue and come here. Now I'm walking and I'm doing this because I don't have no car. I'm a young kid.
Yeah.
So I do this. Then they tell me to 7th Street. So I went to 7th Street and Fifth Avenue, 5th Street and Fifth Avenue, Carroll and Fifth back down to Diplomat. P.S. I'm coming out of the house on 5th Street and Fifth Avenue and I get pinched. 2 detectives grab me.
Yeah.
I got the numbers on me. I got the horse bets on me. I got the cash on me. Who you with? Who you work for? I say nothing. Boom. They bring me down to the precinct. Bergen Street lockup. I'm sitting there. I don't know what I don't know. You know, I don't know. I didn't know at the time I'm supposed to get a call. What happened is they throw me in the cell with all guys, all full-grown men. All right.
Yeah.
Now, still a kid. With that, I see 2 guys in there that I know, and because the other guys are looking at me. I see 2 guys in there I know, and the guy goes like this to me. The both of them give me the nod, and I nodded to them. The other guys just moved away because they knew it. Look, these 2 guys were wise guys. They were on some bullshit pinch.
Yeah.
They came out. Now everybody's looking for me, and they don't know where the fuck I am. So now, Carmine Persico and Ali, they had a cousin named Fat Andy. He says, Anthony probably took the fucking money and ran away. My cousin Max said, no, he wouldn't fucking do that. Even Joe Colombo said no. So they got, what the hell was that lawyer's name? Hold on. Geez, hang on once.
How much money was it that you got caught with?
Abraham Gritz. He's looking around for me. Can't find nothing. Checks the precincts. He says, they got him in Bergen Street lockup. He said, right, so they arrested him. They go down to Bergen Street. Joe Colombo goes down to Bergen Street with my cousin, a couple of other guys. And I hear him go, who the fuck's in charge in here? Who's the fucking idiot who arrested my man? I says, oh shit, I knew that voice. Now the captain comes out. He goes, Joe, what's going on? He goes, who the 2 fucking more? They touch that's my fucking man. Oh, you gotta hear him or he went off. He goes, I'll put these 2 motherfuckers on a bread line. He goes, get him out here. The captain comes out. Now the inspector comes down. The fucking, well, Joe, they're all telling him to calm down.
Yeah.
These 2 detectives come out and he turns out, you fucking touch my man again. He goes, I'll make sure you never fucking see daylight. You'll be working night shift for the rest of your fucking life. I'll put you in fucking Harlem.
Stay tuned for part 2.